Okay, we're live.
Live? Oh, look at
Yeah,
that.
we can start, apparently.
That's cool.
Hi.
How are you doing, Claudine? Hi. So
I'm
nice to
good,
hang
and
out with
you?
you again.
Yeah, let me see if we can. We can see both of us.
Yeah, I
Okay.
might get a gallery view actually, because I think, oh, there we go. Cool. So where are you right now?
I'm good. Taking time to, think and rethink on the life and work and
Yeah.
what I achieve next. Yeah, it's a good time to for that. I guess we need to, take the time, this weird time, to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think it's been a hard time for a lot of people, but at the same time, you get this almost extra time that we don't usually have to work on things at home and connect with our family and friends. So I think that's a blessing, for me personally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm now actually like alone in the woods, so it's kind of weird for me to have this chat in the middle of nowhere today.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to a lot of people since few days. Help me if I'm not, I'm not finding my words.
Yeah, of course. Well, I wish I could come and stay with you, but it sounds like you've got a nice retreat going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have a nice view here. I put myself in front of the St. Lawrence River. So I have it's kind of let's say la mer, it's the sea in front of me now. So it's quiet and peaceful. It's good for the mind when all this stress is going on and worrying about family, friends, and everybody actually. So it's good to rebalance yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing pottery just to kind of connect, it helps me not think about other things. It's very focused, on the artistic, on the process, and then no one else is involved. It's very, I guess, personal and I don't know, inspiring and frustrating, kind of.
But it's good. It's a good time to start learning something like that, and you have time. You don't have like just 2 hours in between your prep meeting and location scout to practice something.
Yeah, make something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make you a bowl and then give it to you next time I see you.
Okay. Oh, I love. I don't know. We can talk about pottery for all day because I love that. But I'm not good at doing it. But I really have a lot of little cup. Oh, great! Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about.
We want to dive in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were going to talk about an overview, right? I think.
Yeah, on our creative process on finding the look of a film, a TV series. And we wanted to take some example with our different shows that we shot. But for the beginning, we will start with this little overview of what that implied, I guess. So first, when we talk about it, remember we talked about the first essential thing in this is the relation between the director and the director of photography. Like we have to connect together to be able after that to go through this creative process and find this perfect look or try to achieve it. Because I was thinking about what I was about to talk today and question again all my process. You know what it is?
Me too. Yeah.
A year later, you're looking at your work and you're like, oh, okay. So there might be a little bit of that today, of me looking back at the decision we took, and how maybe today I would have changed things, but that's a good process too for the next film. And so yeah. Remember we said when you meet a director, there's a lot of you need to find a way to connect. So there's a lot of coffee and sometimes a lot of wine and and hours. We need to spend time together.
Yeah, I think it's something we don't talk about a lot, but I really enjoy getting to know the soul and the motivation and the life of my director, and spending time with them, so that when you get onto set, it's almost like you don't need language. You understand each other, and you have that look or that relationship, and it sometimes helps to have worked with them before, I find, because you've got this history of but the new project's also interesting too, and getting to know someone for the first time. But I do look to try to, have this very, as deep a connection as I can, because it helps so much with what we do.
Yeah, and it helps when it's difficult on set, when there's a lot of stress or you have to go fast, when you know what you're doing and you understood the vision and you're on the same track, ideally, it's kind of, it's really helpful to go also to achieve what we decided we wanted to do. So if we already understood each other, it will help to go further also, because that's the first steps are done. So then you go on set, you see the actors, like everybody, and it's all in front of you, and then together, if you're a good team, you can go further and try different new things that you haven't thought about before. And it's interesting also, remember we said like there's so much, but we of course have different personalities, and when you meet a director, a woman, a man, or they have such different personalities too, and visions, and so you have to, you said that it was interesting, you have to be kind of a
I think that's a lot of our work, not just with directors but with the whole team, is that we kind of have to meld ourselves to support everybody in this group, and I find myself trying to be a facilitator for that, so that people have the space and the support and the freedom to be themselves and express themselves the way they, just in terms of that chameleon side. I think it's really important part of what we do.
They're kind of in charge of the concretization, can we say that, of the dreams? Like
the dream.
To like the dreams are there, they're in the air, and you have to bring everybody together, technical aspect and artistic, like and bring it to life, like in and tape it on film or print it on film, and but that to be sometimes a mother, sometimes a chief, sometimes you have to fight for your dreams, or for the director's dreams also. You have to bring everybody together in that dream, like you said, so your crew and also all the other elements that you don't always control.
Right.
But keep the dream in mind. That's the thing, even if it's not the ideal situation or there's a major storm on set.
That's right. It's finding the way through the difficult times, even whilst maintaining this creative goal for whatever situation you're in, and adapting. Do you find yourself adapting a lot to the circumstances?
now or usually?
Or usually, yeah. Or I suppose maybe in the course of your career, has that changed at all?
Yeah, of course. But I learned how to deal with it. So now I think I'm better at dealing with adaptations and, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I don't have time for this, or, oh, I thought I would have been able to use this tool, but it's too expensive. So let's think about another way to do it. Or we wanted to have sun and it's raining. So what can we do? Or we lost the light and it's a daytime theme and we have to keep going. So yeah, there's a lot of adaptation, of course, and you need to think fast. And as you are taking experience, you learn how to really like adapt and think faster and faster as it's going and as you're shooting. And but it's a good challenge. I really like it. I started in my career in shooting documentaries a lot, and traveling all around the world, and adapting a lot to the situation you have in front of you. So I think it helped me a lot for that, to adapt to people and the way they react to situations, and also for my operating. Also, it helped a lot to adapt to actors' emotion. What they were not supposed to do that, but now they're doing this. Oh God, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. So let's go with the flow. And yeah, but you're right. Adaptation is a lot of. It's part of the process.
I'm similar to you because I worked a lot in a different field before I came to film in overseas aid, humanitarian work. I lived in a lot of different places. And sorry?
Which one? What did you do before?
I did like a women's and children's health programs, a lot with NGOs and a little bit with the UN, and I trained in that, and I traveled. I was fortunate to travel a lot and live in some different countries. And I think that helps to, and I managed teams. Actually, it was quite a thing. It's like trying to take a project and improve upon it and support people with what their needs were locally. So I think that's probably a strength for me, is bringing people together and building teams, and then having lived in these challenging circumstances sometimes with no electricity and water and so forth. It kind of, I don't know, I cut my teeth, maybe that's the expression that I hope that there's some kind of translation of other things that you do that help you with filmmaking. I feel that way.
Of course. I'm sure it helped you a lot, all this. Yeah, for sure. All this experience with people too, because we are dealing with a lot of people on set and all different characters. And sometimes you have to, breathe. When it's really hot. Today it's really hot here, I have to say. It's really a surprise. It's but on set too sometimes it's so cold and everybody's freaking out, and I have sometimes
calm and centered, like the Zen.
But you cannot always take calm, and sometimes also you have to be a bit to let it out of you. But most of the time I try to stay a bit calm, and it could also, like, how can we say that? We can bring people in our, like, if we're not happy on that, it's the same thing mostly with director. If they have a rough day, they can, you know what I mean? Bring everybody. And then it's not going as well as it was supposed to be, because there's all this I guess we are working in small spaces usually, or in different, like, tough weather outside, long hours all together. So but it's fun too.
Yeah.
So about meeting the first meeting directors and getting along well together. I was thinking about my first, when I met Lina Rossler, the director of my last feature, Bestsellers, that I shot a few months ago. We just had this, I think it was a 20 minutes meeting, and we had to, you know, go have a coffee together and say hi. So you're from Toronto, I'm from Montreal, and maybe we will work together. I'm always a bit like uncomfortable with this, but I brought some books. I read the script and I brought some books, art photography books on old man, because the principal, the main character of this script was an old hermit author, and Michael Caine is playing it, and so I had this in mind, and so I brought those books to her, and we start talking about it, and she made this little nice lookbook also on paper, and she showed it to me. So it was, you know, when you're meeting someone and you're like, okay, we're exactly
okay, we connect. Yeah, exactly.
In 15 or 20 minutes. And yesterday I asked her to send me like a digitized copy of this little lookbook. So I don't know, I can maybe share just a quick,
that'd be awesome.
Like
yeah, I'd love to do
image
that.
of it, to see sometimes what is the first contact you have with someone. They showed you something, and what was interesting about it, I'm coming back to finding the look. It's that yesterday when I asked her that, she said, remember the first meeting, you brought some books and then I look at the film, because they just locked it last week and we're going to go in color correction in 2 weeks. And she said, look at this lookbook. We did it. This is what it is. I was like, you're right.
So satisfying, isn't it? When that initial vision is, because I'm going to show you stuff from Sugar Daddy that's similar. Wendy, my director, and I had a lot of time looking at art references and other imagery, and she hand drew all the storyboards, and we sat in a sofa together and did that for a long time. I haven't managed to get those drawings, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of those are in the film. I wish I could have shared them today. I'll have to be next time.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, it was the same thing on when we went scouting with Lina, and I took so many pictures, but I'm not allowed to show them today. But I took so many pictures that we were looking at shots, and you know, now I know this isn't the movie. This is the mascot, and I can like paste them side by side together. It will be interesting for our next. We will do another one in the year, and so you will you bring the storyboard, and
yeah, right. That'd be cool. Maybe we'll do the next project. But,
yeah. Like, okay, now we're allowed to show you that. Yeah. So do you want to? Do
you want to show?
To share?
Yeah.
I will. I will try it. We'll see if it's working. It's going to be a good test.
Yeah.
So, and then tell me if it's working. Oh, do you see it? I can see it. Great.
Awesome.
So it's just an idea of, okay, this is the beginning of something, but she made a great lookbook on the two main characters and their environment and the way she was seeing them. And it's kind of a road trip because they're going on the road at some point. So the young woman who's from Manhattan, like a young editor, going on this trip, like in bars and old motels with this old man hermit, drunk all the time, really difficult to live with. And so from her lookbook, I made those mood boards and we wanted to have this like contrast between Lucy and Harris, the two characters that was already in her lookbook, the contrast of both of them, that at some point they are like coming together on this trip, and the looks are less different as we are going into the story. So I made two different mood boards for him and this like kind of a weird dirty road trip, like in this upstate New York, in the suburbs and in the dive bars and all this, and this was more for her in Manhattan, clean apartment life, tried to get everything together nicely, be the best, and but at some point, we start with this. I'm gonna come back.
I have a question for you from Kat. Actually, she's asking, do directors have a precise idea of the visual look they want for their film series? I think it depends.
Well, but as you see, it's interesting to see how I cannot show you the result of this, but this was the beginning of this discussion about how we're going to shoot it, the colors, she had a little, as you were able to see, a little palette colors, like, so I started with this, and then as we were prepping and talking and drinking wine and a lot of coffee, we were in prep forever on that also, because they would keep pushing it, because Michael had another shoot in London and it was a bit complicated to organize everything. So we had a lot of time to think and prep, and so I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm looking at directors, that I feel that there's sort of different sort of places you find yourself in as a DP. Like a TV series, I feel more creatives involved with setting the look of the series. You know, you have your showrunners and you have your director, that's the pilot, and then maybe new directors are coming in. And I feel it's a bit of a wider group of influence on this look. And then with features, perhaps it's a bit more singular with the director. I don't know.
But this is interesting because in Quebec, most of the series, every series I shot, I was working with one director and I was shooting all of them. And there is no showrunner here. So the showrunner is the director. And it's kind of, for me, it's kind of the same as shooting a feature film. It's like a long feature film of 10 hours. And so it's kind of a different situation about that, because there's really someone who's holding the look and setting it with us, like for everything. And it keeps going as we are shooting it. I worked a lot with Pods, Daniel Grou, and we shot a lot of TV series together, films, and so all this process of finding the look was sometimes started with, for 19-2 French version, start with a music. So it was a really slow guitar music. And I was like, oh, so this is going to be our cop show. That's cool. So, and because it was the one who was there for the 30 episodes, actually, because we shot 30 episodes together, the 3 seasons. So that first impression stayed until the end.
But I want to hear quite a treat, because from my end, I think every show I've done has had at least maybe 4 or 5 directors. So,
wow,
that chameleon side comes back in, but also there is something on your shoulders where you have to keep the thread of the original idea going, but giving space for the director that's with you to give their own flavor to it. So, I find that side of TV really interesting.
Yeah, that's another, because I did a little bit of second unit and a little bit of main unit on Blood and Treasure series when they were shooting in Montreal, and so I worked with different directors, and it wasn't as you said, because I met them for an hour and then we had to shoot 3 scenes, and it was kind of so we didn't have time to really know each other, but you have to keep and respect the look and everything that was established before when you jumped on a project like that. But it's not the same as being the DP for 10 episodes with 5 different directors. And so usually, how do you manage it?
I try to find time. Yeah, I try to find time to be, to know the director coming in and have some lunch meetings or dinner and talk about what they see, how they feel about their episode. Because, the last thing you want is the director to step on and meet you for the first time on set. And so I think it's all about building relationships, I think. And then, it's usually been that the first director has had quite a few episodes before a new director comes. So the crew and the visuals find themselves, and then I guess it just keeps rolling is what I've experienced. And I met Wendy Morgan, because I'm going to talk about Sugar Daddy later. I met her on a series Little Dog, and we worked together in Newfoundland.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and we really connected. We both love, she's a very visual director, and she does a lot of music videos, and she's incredibly talented and just a very warm and generous person. So that led us to the feature we did last year in Sugar Daddy. So it's nice to kind of cross the world in some way. Yeah. Oh, I think we have more questions here. Sorry.
It's to meet someone and then has the chance to work with them again in a different situation and start a project like with her. You really start from scratch for your film for Sugar Daddy after, so it's good.
Yeah. Should I share some of the visuals that we did, because you just did yours for yours, or do you want to continue?
Yeah, let's talk about Sugar Daddy.
I have the pin.
There was a question here. While you are, I can maybe just answer. There was a question about the prep. I saw that. Do you have it? About the 10 episodes prep with
season with one director. How do you prep an entire? Yes, that's a good question, Arthur. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting also because there's it's like when you shoot with different directors, you have to go on prep at lunch, or you have to go, during weekends, and it's kind of the same thing. I have to say for 19, it was for 19.2. It was like so there was the first season. There was I think almost 200 locations. So we had. It's impossible in a month and a half, because we don't have much more than that of prep to go see everything. So I remember until the end, the last day, the last location, I think I visited the day before the last day of the shoot. So and sometimes you take more time of prep for the first episode, like on season 2, the first episode was on the shooting in the school, and we decided to do a 13 minutes long take, a shot to open the episode. So we spent almost our month of prep on this episode because it was so huge, and then we had to keep going on prepping, and sometimes we have a little hiatus in the middle, so we can take a week or 2 weeks to keep going on the prep and start shooting again. So yeah, I'll let you show your nice visual.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, I'm going to follow up with you as well when you're doing it. I find the same with you with prepping a big series on your own, is that you really rely on your team, your gaffer and your key grip to go ahead of you almost and be your eyes and send back information. And because a lot of the locations I find that come later, I don't necessarily have the opportunity to see them. And then a recent experience for me, which I haven't had before, is alternating DP on the Run series HBO. That was such a treat for me because I could really just focus on my 2 episodes and I didn't have to think about 10 and have the time to prep with my director and production designer and first AD all together. That was
Oh, good.
Yeah, just following up on that because I wish that I'd like to do more of that.
Maybe we will do one.
Maybe we can alternate together.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I would love that. I had some. So we actually started, I guess, to talk about the process of looking at visuals together. Wendy and I, we started a group Pinterest because it's so nice to add things and take them away, and people can all the team can also contribute. So we had we had a very close-knit group of creatives, of awesome women, production designer Jessie and Wendy and myself. Oh, I think I just flipped. Sorry, that's too soon. So we started with quite a lot of art references. Wendy really enjoyed the portraiture of Gustave, and we had some other color elements that we were looking at that happened towards the end of the film. And so this kind of was like the initial, I guess, creative bubble where we threw everything in. And then we started to take things out, like, oh, films a bit more in this world, and then we have this color arc, so these don't work. And this, I suppose, is what you'd call a library, I suppose, yeah. And then we went to trying to find this cohesive quality to the beginning of our film. And, this story is very much about this singular musician who she's trying to find her way with her music, but she has financial issues, and so she starts dating men for money. That's kind of the overall premise. And so as she starts to discover her music and understanding of her own sexuality, and she becomes, I suppose it's a liberation, I feel, of this film, we move into this color world. So we understood from the beginning that we wanted to do this transition through the film. And let me see if I can find.
Yeah, because now I don't know what people are seeing, but it's kind of a blurred.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Let me see. That's weird. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to start it again. I guess there's no point sharing a blurry screen. Do you see something now?
Yeah.
Yes. So we did that, and then we printed a lot of pictures and we put them on a wall and we moved them around. It's crazy, but in our office, that's what we did a lot. And we started to make these.
It's so cool. I love doing it too.
So it felt very visceral.
Yeah, it's good to and put them in the production office so everybody, because we will talk about this later, but you have to get involved with all production designer, costume designer, hair, makeup, and so it's good when you print them and you put them like somewhere and you can all talk about it like together.
Yeah, it helps for that cross collaboration, doesn't it? Yeah, we were all in the same place. Wendy and I shared an office. Production designer was next door, and we just kind of kept going and visiting each other. And how do you feel about this? What is, you know, what's going on with this color of this curtain? Or how do we want these walls treated with shiny paint, which is one thing we did because we wanted all this glary light and all these sort of flares and things. So anyway, I will stop there because I guess we would move on to, we had a bunch of elements that create the visual look, right?
Yeah.
Overall.
Oh, you want to keep going on
I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, why not? Okay, we can talk about this. Yeah, I saw there was a question also about when I talked about it could be a good way to keep going on this. There was a question from Archer about is Bestsellers was a period film because the lookbook looks and everything looks a bit from the 70s and the 80s. I think that's what he said. Or is it contemporary with just a period feel? And that's a very good question because that's what we try to achieve is having like books and period feeling like paper, old, you know, old paper, old books, like all this versus social media, contemporary like style and life and fast versus slow and all this. So, and at the beginning we wanted to, because it's a film on books, also on literature. I will say it in French. It's easier. So we wanted to have this feeling of, you know, objects touching them, be able to. So we wanted to shoot on film, but and even on 16 millimeters to have these textures and filming social media like computers and all this with film with 16 to have this period look, but with like on a contemporary situation. So to represent the two main characters, she is like in her early 30s and he's 80, you know, something. So and they're living in totally different worlds. So, but we couldn't like shoot on film for different reasons. So then we were like, okay, we want to keep this old-fashioned look even if it's not on film. So let's try to test some old anamorphic lenses and see if we can get that look, and maybe add at the end film grain. We will see in 2 weeks if we're gonna try it or not. Yeah, I love it. I love to play with it. Sometimes it's not, you have to play with all those plugins, and because you cannot just put a texture that is, you know, just it's kind of putting dirt on your image. Sometimes it's not working and it doesn't feel like I started
natural.
My career.
I had the same thing, like it feels like laid on the front and not.
That's it. Because when you know what film looks like, when you know you did. I'm so old. I did grading on screen. You know, you're sitting with your colorist and you're looking at a screen and you say, okay, this shot should be darker. This one. So you know what film looks like on a screen. So sometimes when you just put a layer, like you said. Anyway, so we tested a lot of old Tadeo and I really wanted to try the Maru anamorphics that I saw on When They See Us, that Bradford Young shot. It was so amazing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That look, that was like amazing. They found the look. They found the right look for that series. I really loved it. So I was really impressed with that. So I went to LA to test the Meru anamorphic lenses, and we wanted, because they have a strong personality, we didn't want to use them for the entire movie. So we wanted to use for Lucy's character more contemporary like lenses. We even thought of maybe going spherical versus anamorphic sometimes and switch from one to another. So, yeah. But at the end, we decided we test many lenses, and we decide on shooting her first part of the movie on Hawk V-Lite Vintage 74, who are like fake vintage anamorphics. So they're like really, they don't have the same personality. It's really interesting. But when you put them together, they're not, because sometimes you don't want to have like two different movies in front of you when you experiment with contrast and opposition in your look. You want the film to be one film. So you need to find the look, but with different looks in it.
With different, I suppose, brush strokes maybe.
Yeah.
Because we it's so interesting. We did this very similar process where we wanted to shoot film for Sugar Daddy, and we very much wanted to do a 4:3 aspect ratio because we were very taken by some portraiture work, and this is a very singular journey for this woman, and that men don't really go into this frame that she exists in. I'll talk about the 4:3 because I could go down on a long tangent for that, but for the lenses we wanted to have a lot of character and texture, and I tested at Caslo, thanks to Stephanie. She brought some lenses up from LA, and we looked at a whole smorgasbord, and then we took those tests and we screened them at Urban Post. So the director or producers came along, and we landed with the Super Baltars rehoused from TLS, and they were just incredible lenses, and I really enjoyed.
I would love to see those tests.
Yeah, I was trying to, I was preparing so many different things today. Hold on, I might have pictures. Let me see.
I forgot that I have those tests at home, and lens tests.
It's like the secret stuff for us. Other people doing, the testing is, I think. I do actually have pictures. We also tested camera movement was a big thing for us. So we did some Steadicam handheld tests with these different lenses outside. Let me share. And it made me even more excited for this 4:3. Let me try to limit. Hold on. I'm trying to not show my whole world here. It's like hide view, hide toolbar. Okay, that's better. And then, this was a test we did outside in winter.
It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Lovely. These were the Baltars, and that's where we ended up. I think we also, so just to see how the lenses behave with movement, and we also did some interior testing with some lenses had these really interesting aberrations of rainbow.
Yes. And they are red with the red.
So it was a great opportunity because it was the winter and there was lots of time just to test and look at things, and look at them on a big screen was really important to take them to Urban.
Of course, yeah. With old anamorphics, I can tell you, it's like quite a difference when you see them on big screen and you're like, oh, okay, I see where is my, little focus zone. And because it influenced a bit our look also, and as like we all know, like anamorphics, depending on which one you choose, you have to frame, and depending on your aspect ratio also, you have to frame differently to get something in focus in your image.
So what did you end up with? You had 2 sets of lenses?
Yeah. So it was, as I said before, the Hawk D-Light Vintage 74, wonderful lenses with the Maru anamorphics. And what was interesting is that Stephen won't like me to say that, but at Lenswork Rental, they are the one who are building the lenses over there in LA. But there was something crooked in one of the lens, the 90 millimeter one, but it made like the image a bit kind of weird, but that's what we wanted. That's what Lena wanted, and me too. We wanted something a bit off for him, for the character of Harris. So I decided, and we didn't, when we received the lens, there was all this like, they couldn't ship it before and blah, blah, blah. So we received them and we were about to shoot. So I decided to embrace this aberration and to shoot with it. And it was some days I had because I was operating the camera, but some days I had like be camera operator. And when I was like, put the 90 on, and they were like, what's happening? That's normal. That's normal. It's kind of crooked. You have to play with it. But we had a lot of fun, like using this kind of artistic personality of the 90 millimeters. Yeah.
That's so cool. Don't fix what is going to help you.
The process. And that's it. That's kind of the process. And you use your tools like differently when because I'm sure like on another film I would have received that lens and I would have said, oh my God, I can't use it. This is not, I can't. But on that film, that was exactly what we wanted to. We were looking for that. So
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find on my series Run was the first time I had sort of a different family of lenses. You know, we shot DXL2. We had some Primo artistes that were very characterful and had beautiful flares, but very soft around the edges. And then, you know, we had some other sharper lenses, and you kind of have to get to know the character of all of these lenses for the times that you want to use them. And you know, I jumped on, it was just a 2-week process of filming, so you got to kind of you know,
and know your lenses. Yeah, they are your children. You have to know, oh, this one will, you know, this one has this personality and I will use it anyway. Yeah, you have to know them by heart.
That's true.
Yeah. Same thing for, and sometimes like you need also your lenses to be really like perfect in a technical perfection. Sorry, I will rephrase this. As an example, when I went to shoot up north of Quebec in Fermont for La Faille, and it was -40, we wanted to go there with lenses that could, you know, be safe for us in that kind of situation. It was so cold. So we tested a lot of lenses, and at the beginning we wanted this gritty look, but we decided not to go there with old Panavision that we tested that we liked, but we decided at some point to go with the Master Primes, the Harry Zeiss Master Primes, because they were indestructible. They were really so resistant.
Yeah, definitely.
And because you can, you know, you can shoot wide open at 1.4 with them, they're incredible. Also, they can become really soft and nice for close-ups, and we had a lot, of course, of drone shots to do in this like landscape, white winter landscapes, and match those shots with our shots from the ground. So the Master Primes also were good because they're sharp, and so we didn't have problem of matching them also with the drone shots. And so this could be also yes, another
consideration.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, because I have you know, honestly, I really like, you know, your English is amazing. My Quebecois is crap.
No, that's okay. You know, everybody
Maybe
will recognize this nice Quebecois accent.
Do you ever choose lenses based on like functionality in terms of having the same diameter on the front, or their weight, or how much they open up to? Do you start there, or you start with book?
Yes, one of my favorites for a long time were the Cooke S4, because of their incredible minimum focus. And so I didn't mind to, when I shot a lot of series with them, I didn't mind to have a little bit more weight on my shoulder, because I was able to go close, like more than often, like with them. So I wasn't afraid to, and they have this nice softness too that I really like. So, but sometimes you have to cut a bit on the weight for, like I shot this feature film, 1 minute 54, 1 minute 54, and we shot in a school, a high school that was open with all the students in it. It was shooting fiction in a kind of a documentary like setup. So we were putting
I did the same thing on Backstage. I just have to tell you, I did the live school on Backstage series I did a while ago. But it was like, yeah, there were bells, and you know,
amazing to be able to do that. You throw your actor in the middle of the cafeteria with like 100 of students eating their sandwiches, talking, and the director, it was so cool and good with teenagers. He was like, he's an actor too, Jan England. So he was telling them, okay, don't look at us, look at them. but just when he will throw the sandwich on his head. And so I needed to have this kind of a documentary like camera package to be able to fit everywhere in the school. In the morning, we had this little window of between 7 and 7:30 where all the buses arrived, and we needed to shoot scenes there. So we throw the actor in the bus, and they were coming out with all the other students. And sometimes we started a scene with 10 extras, like natural extras, and at the end there was 300 of them around us.
Crazy.
But it was so fun. Anyway, I chose the ultra primes for this film because of that also.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Those are lovely too. I've used a lot of Cooke S4 as well. It's something I love, the color of them too, the softness, and yeah,
I think I shot most of my TV series with the Cooke S-Cat, and some of my favorite feature films too. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we have some questions that we've been ignoring because we just love chatting too much. Francine asks, what is the best way to communicate between director and DP? How important is it that directors know lenses?
About lenses? I missed the last part.
The question from Francine is, what is the best way to communicate between a director and a DP? And how important is it that directors know lenses?
Oh, this is really different from a director to another, because some of them are really technical, and some of them are not. And so some of them knows really well the lens. They can call 25 whatever to you, and others are like, you choose, and we're gonna talk about the shot together on the monitor. And so, but in prep, when we are doing tests, I don't know about you, but you talk about that when we're looking at it on screen with the director, we can talk about lenses and see with example if they're not really technical. So I don't think, I have to say that because I made, and you too also, you did a lot of first film. So
yeah,
don't be shy if you don't know the difference between, 25, 32, 50. We're there for that. If we can take care of, if you can communicate the vision. Huh?
I was like, yeah, no, sorry, keep going. I totally interrupted you.
No. I'm done. I'm trying to do too much gesture here.
I think I'm
trying to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like, oh, calm down. Anyway,
I'm going to show you something because we did talk about first-time directors who maybe haven't got as much like history with lenses, and I really love the director's viewfinder for features.
Yes,
that may go away with COVID, unfortunately.
Good point.
But I feel like the director's viewfinder gives you a sense of the lens really in its full beauty. And
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, so I'm going to share with you me and Wendy working together because sharing is so fun.
Because I like art is really good for, but to have a viewfinder and lens, yeah, that's cool.
There's Wendy, for me, a shot, and then and then me. So we would share this a lot, right?
Of course.
We flip that kind of, and this sort of talking about it. Do we want to go tighter, shorter, closer? And we would get to know lenses together that way.
That's it. That's the way to do it. But from my point of view, definitely. And you won't get the same when you're with your phone. You won't get the right feeling of the lenses you chose before and see on set with people, with objects, with set design, with everything, what it looks like. And also depth, because this is really important too, like to see what do you want in focus and you don't want in focus. And so that's the kind of also like talk you can have together with the lenses in your hands. Yeah, I totally agree on that. So yeah, you can discover which one you like while you are shooting if you don't know them pretty well. Yeah, that's it. And sometimes, because I worked with directors who knows like all lenses very well and all that, and Puds as an example, like sometimes he was like, I hate the 25. So for that show, we won't use the 25, leave it in the case. But sometimes you're stuck in a corner and you need and you try to put the 25 on, and exactly. He always noticed it. You're like, oh God, how did you do that? Like, you put the 25. I'm sorry. I had to.
I think anyway. I sometimes try. If a director is really, has a certain thing they don't like to do. I had a director that really hated POV shots. I would say, okay, let me show you something, and then they can decide if they want to use it or not. But just showing is, I think, such a great way to have a conversation about an image than describing it, because the describing doesn't really work.
Little movement to. Yeah, you're like, but I will show you the movement, and if you don't like it, we will stay still at the end of the tracks, or so just maybe let's try it and see. Yeah, it's good to see. And you can always do different versions of your takes also if you have time.
That's right.
I say that like that, when we have time. Do you want me to talk about Le Mans?
That would be awesome. I really liked looking at your imagery yesterday of Le Mans, so I think people would get a lot out of that.
But are you done with Sugar Daddy? Did you have more?
I'll come back to it. Like, I have more images, but should I finish and then we go to Le Mans? I'm really easy. What do you prefer?
Me too. I am. So
okay.
I'll let you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because it's an interesting, okay, I'll try to, because for this story, it's a story, it was a really strong, real story from a book, but from a real person who wrote the book on domestic violence. So, and the way the book was written and the way the script were written too, we were going back and forth on time so much that we were afraid that the audience will get lost at some point. So, and it was a short period of time, the story. It's a young couple, and they spend maybe 3 or 4 years together. So from 18 years old to 22 years old. So there's no aging to understand, makeup aging to understand that, we are going further in time, or this is a flashback. So we had to find a way to get audience keeping track on the story. So I tried something, and so with the director and all head of artistic department, we divided, and the first AD too, the ADs were really on that too. We divided the real chronology in 4 acts, 4 period of time. And I will resume or vulgarize it. Like the first one is love, like falling in love was and I will show the mood board to start with. So this was the inspiration for the first act. So I'll go really like basics. So let's say falling in love, and then faded red was the next step of, okay, you feel that there is something wrong, you know that you shouldn't stay in this relationship, you have to move, but you can't, but you're still in love, there's still a lot of hope and all that. So it's kind of fading. And then when you are really into it and you cannot get out of it for many, many reasons, and it's so violent and there's a lot of psychological manipulations and you're going down and down, it started to getting really green. But I kept, you'll see in the other references after the real stills from the show, I always kept the reds and the green together in the image for those 3 first acts. But it's merging, the red is merging into the green, but it's still there. And the present time, when you get out of there, or you try to get out of there, because it's a long process, we wanted to be clear for the audience that, okay, she's out of there, this is the present time. So we decided to go on blue. Okay. I had to say now that the blue period was the most difficult for me to achieve, and because when they edited everything, they cut everything together, and it was like you're like, oh my god, what did I do? Because sorry, it was kind of difficult to there was a lot of consistency in what we achieved on that, but there was difficult in color grading sessions to merge or to have the blue scenes like cutting nicely with the others. When I did my update, my website update a few weeks ago, and I put all the stills in chronology, I was like, oh, because I was so into it. Yeah. Everybody also like, and when they were in the scene, there was a little bit of hope. I was like, okay, we need red in the corner. So if it's not on her clothes, it's under the lights. And when it was going down, okay, reverse. So there was always a ratio of red and green in every image. So I will go on this and show you. So all this, I wanted to try it again on another film when it will be. I want to try it again when it will be necessary or a good way of shooting another story, but do it in chronology. So start a movie red and finish it green, but without like it's not in your face that what's going on, but because when I put it in, anyway, so
it's interesting. Well, Claudine, I'll show you later that we try to attempt that with Sugar Daddy, where we started with very little color and it was quite blue.
Are you serious?
And to red at the end, and I was trying to make it seamless, you know, so you don't really feel it being like a heavy hand of the filmmaker. It's part of her inner journey that color comes into her life. But look, I'm the same as you. I looked at the sort of the chronology of the imagery, and sometimes we didn't always like adhere to that. So I suppose that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, but it's interesting. It's part of the creative process. So that was and to question it. Sorry, I didn't finish my answer. So it's part of the creative process to question what we've done before. And so that was my mood board. And then we did some tests with the fantastic Rosemary Perroux, who was our actress, main character on that. So there's a little bit of information if you want to. So I was testing different gels, color, asteras, everything on her to see. And I wanted Jean Babin, who was the production designer, to put a lot of colors. Like, so when we were in this red act, to put some red on the curtains, on the walls. And I also asked him, you see here, bounce rouge, so red bounce, to give me, like foam core with the colors of the walls. So I used it a lot to bounce. You can see on her. So bounce the light for my close-up on bounce. Yeah, that's where the colors of the environment and the principal colors of the act we were in. Am I clear? I'm not sure.
Cool. I'm stealing that one. That's really great.
I'm in love with this now. It's so great. It's really, and you know, when you shoot a wide shot and then you go close and the wall doesn't do its magic anymore, so you just bring your bounce in, and it's amazing on the skin because it's so natural. It's not. So this is a real stills, color corrected and all this from the show. So this is all in the first act. They're in love. And they're going, oh, there was this also, and I don't know how we did that, but we did it. We went to shoot in Tunisia because there was a lot of scenes over there, and we were not sure we would have the money at some point, but we did it. So at the end of the show, so I took some, those images are from, they were inspiration for me for a documentary I shot in Algeria many years ago. So I showed them to Patrice Sauvé, who was our talented director on that series. And the first time we met, we were talking about meeting director. The first time Patrice and I met, I think we had this, we were supposed to have a coffee, but we talked for 4 hours. It was a very, very long coffee. And we talked about Algeria, and I showed him like pictures. This is really bad quality stills that I took from the documentary online, but you can see that feeling. I wanted to reproduce it, but in more in our, like, keeping our look, but in the same vibe that I have experimented myself over there. But then when it's fading a little bit, so the faded red look, sorry, I'm going to show you also costume, because they did a great work. So I wanted to go on orange, pink, like, and adding more green in the environment. So her bedroom at her parents' house, where she always come back when she thinks she will get out of her relationship, and she keeps going back. But this room had a lot of personality from her princess childhood and all this. But you can see that it's more orange. It's because we put pink curtains and all this in it, but I kind of tweak the colors of it to have this faded red coming in everywhere, and this green is taking more places now in their couple. This is a kind of a little dégradé. Sorry, we were playing with José Castonguay, our very talented custom designer too. So, and there was a lot of curtains and that I asked again to set, and that we included in set design to help me getting the looks, but in a natural way. I didn't want to put gels on every lights around. I wanted to feel natural. This is in Tunisia again, but a real feeling. And at the beginning I was looking at, you start from red and then you're going to those brownish kind of all pink red.
Oh, Claudine, Arnie has a question for you. He's saying, when you went through different colors, did you combine different amounts of diffusion, brackets filters, with each color? For example, large amount of diffusion with red, small amount of diffusion with blue.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
It was more a question of feeling and mixing them. I will show you. I made a lot of tests for the green look also, the way I wanted to mix. It's to find a good ratio, the good contrast colors ratio you want. So I didn't want her to be like all green, like her skin tone all the time at the beginning. So I wanted to have, and same thing for the parents and all that, because it wasn't just the two of them, the young, beautiful couple. It was also like their parents and all the others that they had to be in this environment too. That was a bit difficult, but I wanted to keep always like something that is warmer on them. So those are the parents, and I didn't want them to be in too much green because it was kind of weird. So I didn't use specific filters for my different colors. It was really a question of finding the good balance in the contrast of the colors. And as we were going, I was putting more and more blues in my green look to bring us to the next one. So
how
those
did you
are
keep
some.
Sorry, Claudine. How did you keep track of the different adding of color or taking it away?
It was a lot of. I had to be really organized, and also the first AD and the second AD were awesome. They put like the look, the act on the call sheet too, so everybody knew, okay, this scene is on act 2 or this one is act 3, so everybody knew about it. And we also organized the schedule in a way that when we shot in the parents' house, we shot the first week that was in the first act, so the warm house with a lot of wood and yellow curtains and all this. And then we went back in this house at the end of the shoot, and we changed, our department changed the colors of the walls, but it was really subtle. We put everything colder, so the curtains were blue. But you don't see it automatically. It's all subtle. It's in the sets. It's in the physical space. So this was just an example to show also, because we can talk about this later, but because I really like the red, because I can play inside my camera on the colors and do my live grading right in the camera. And I'm always doing it for my rushes, like directly in the camera while I'm lighting. And usually I'm not going as far. This is the final stills, and this is from the rushes. So it's just to see how I can achieve when I have specific looks like that. Like I can really go further with my look and be sure that I'm on the right pages. So this is from. So
we talked a bit about the color process a little bit before this session, and you very much hinted at playing with the settings in your camera as sort of a way to create your looks on set. So I guess I'm curious, do you start with a base LUT and then manipulate on yourself on set? Do you have a color? Do you have a DIT on set? Like, what's your process for all that?
So I usually don't have the money to have a DIT on set. And so from many years, I'm operating my camera. I'm doing my grading for rushes live on set in my camera. So usually what I'm doing is, when I'm doing my tests, I'm playing with my looks in the camera, and I'm taking notes of what I've done for each different look. So sometimes my ACs, they have a little notebook and they note like my settings, so I can. Yeah. And sometimes I just, after a few days, I just remember them, so I switch everything. But they are keeping tracks and looking at what I'm doing. Sometimes yes, no. Sometimes I'm changing my settings without telling them, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're red," or yeah, I know, I did it between 2 takes. Yeah. I did like it, so
I can really relate to that. Yeah.
But I really like it, because also I'm operating. I have, I'm in my camera, and while I'm, let's say, rehearsing, or I can see, oh yeah, there's this little haze of blue that I don't like, so I go in the camera, punch it, and just get rid of it. And when I look at rushes, usually they're not exactly what I want, but they're as close as I want. So yeah. It's another way of I'm not using LUT a lot, because also I'm working. I started to do this with red cameras since the red one. So, and I'm I have difficulties to not doing it. So to get used to another method, because I'm so much into it. And now with the new workflow, the new IPP2 workflow, I can go even further in post. They can, it's almost there. They can take all my, because first, before we were using the offline as a reference, and my stills from the rushes as references, and we start from scratch. But now they can also use, they're supposed to be able on my next time to use all this as our base. So it's kind of the same thing as using a LUT, but it's embedded in but not really, because you can always get rid of it if you don't like it. Because sometimes I'm like, okay, I changed my mind. This is not exactly what I want, or I went too far on this, or I didn't have time to change it. But you are working in a different way.
I mean, I've been in similar scenarios for you where there's been no depth, and I then probably work from a base LUT, and then I adjust as I go, as well as you, and perhaps, I mean, I think overall my goal is always to get to the closest finished look of the film on set as I can, so that anything in post is sort of already there, and now we're just adjusting, because I think that's important in terms of editorial, and people get very used to, I mean, other DPs say the same, but I'm just repeating. But
yeah,
I think it's great when the whole creative team, you know, the whole creative team sees the final look as close as it can be to what it's going to be. And then...
And you can adjust on set.
Sorry,
the other departments, when they see the look on set, they can adjust also for colors, or even the
exactly. You can go down this rabbit hole of, you know, why is that curtain looking purple now when it in real life it's brown. So you can have those conversations, because the introduction of LUT and color, I think when all the creatives can see it and work within that world, I suppose that would be why I wouldn't just sort of not create a distinctive look and just shoot it, I guess, middle range is maybe what you would say, and then deal with it in post. So I'm similar to you that way. But I do, maybe my shows have had more dips and more, I've had some live grading, I've had no dip, no grading. I've had a combination of all those scenarios. I do love the interaction on Sugar Daddy that I had with Andrew Sulky. We looked at things together. We could change and tweak and change LUTs. Not that we did that much. I have sort of a core bunch of LUTs I love to work with, because they have like a film emulation built in, and I developed them with some colorists, like at Technicolor, and so I feel like I know my LUT like a film stock. And
but that's what it is, yeah. Yeah.
It's different ways of working.
The same.
Sorry, we have one question.
But it's the same minding of shooting on film, using LUTs as like different film stock. Same thing for me, like when I'm playing in the camera, it's like different film stock. Okay, I'm like, for example, in Le Mans, I had my settings for the red, so it's kind of a LUT also. It's the same mentality of when we were shooting on film, we were trying different filters and temperature, color temperature, and whatever. And so I'm used to do this, and I'm still doing it in my photography. So it's kind of a, okay, for this environment or this kind of lighting, I'm gonna use this film stock or this LUT or this setting, and etc. Yeah, and but I think it's really important to show also the art department, costume, makeup, what are these before starting to shoot. When we are doing those tests with all artistic and creative department, it's important that they see, like you said before, all it reacts on colors. Like if for example, in this 9-2, we decided to go on a look really desaturated. So, but I didn't want to put extra colors on the skin tone. So we experiment this a lot with Marlène Rouleau, was the makeup artist on this, to have them define the good like color makeup for every character, so after that they don't look like totally gray. So it's all different things that, and you don't have to put, because I hate that when you put orange like you tweak and you feel it. So So it's important when you do your tests. I love doing tests with production designer and tested colors for walls, for, you know, environment, like I said, and use them also in my lighting. I love testing lamps to see what they're doing. For La Faille, we had to design from scratch in this empty shopping mall our police station. So it was fun to decide on what lights and test them before we will put on every desk, and what will be on top of in the ceiling, because there was nothing there. So we designed with Jean Babin again. It was him again. That year, I spent my year with the same director, Patrice Sauvé, to shoot La Faille and Le Mans, and Jean Babin, the production designer. So we were at the end, we were a good team. So
nice.
No, at the beginning too, because I worked with Jean many times before. So Jean made some lights for us, and we put asteras in them and changed the police station in a really mini studio, and we can operate it, everything from my gaffer Hugo Roy iPad, and it was really fun. So to experiment and to have everybody see how it influenced their look too, their costumes, their when you apply your LUTs, it's really important, I think.
Yeah, because they need to see that visually, how it's affecting the color choices they're making. Maybe there isn't I feel that there needs to be more conversation generally probably about those things, like cross department. We were lucky on Sugar Daddy that we all lived in this, I don't know, cauldron of sharing. I loved it because we really took the whole process through, you know. Actually, I mean, we've got half an hour left, Claudine, because we just love to chat. Can I share a few stills from?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So probably will some color stuff will come up. I'm doing this very ghetto. I don't know. I'm just you'll see this side, but well, maybe I can do that.
Is this a shot from the film?
So these are stills from the film. Thank you.
Wow, where is this?
This was on Leslie Spett, and this is the beginning of our film, and utilizing a lot of 4:3, which is lovely. I really enjoy this aspect ratio. I've shot a lot of 16:9 television generally, and then 2:4, but this is my first time filming 4:3, and I really enjoyed it. Let's see if I can click along. And this is Kelly, our lead, Darren. Can you see it?
Your images it's very small. I don't know if
okay, thanks. Let me try doing something different. Is it bigger now?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Better.
I love it that you're my eyes. Yeah.
We want to see because they're beautiful.
Can you see this one now?
Yes. Yeah. Very well.
Okay. Perfect. I'll keep going. And we started with a funeral and singing, and she's a musician. And, gradually as the movie progresses, she finds her voice, and her artistry really comes through. And she has, along this journey, relationships with interesting males who she goes on dates with. So that's kind of the premise of it. And I suppose we had a lot of locations. These were the limitations. We had very few shoot days. I think it was 15, maybe 16. Budget was low, like around $1 million. And so this team came together to try to find a way to make this film in the days that we had, but give it all the love we could possibly put into it. Actually, I'll show some crew pictures at the end. Yeah, because it's a great team. There is, this is where the dates start, kind of hostile. very linear. You know, I really love framing for so many ways you can convey where a character is at in the story, to more personal in her room. And the way that we framed her, we tried in the beginning to not have, for everything to be very her perspective, and you know, we actually throughout the whole film pretty much took out over the shoulders, which I thought was an interesting way to go. This room was originally white, and I love that Jessie and I, we talked, and Wendy, we talked about how we wanted the lights to reflect off the walls. So we chose a very glossy, reflective, dark blue. And we wanted the room to be small, and we purposefully chose a very claustrophobic room. And you feel it, I think, in the room when she's creating her music. And it was more difficult to shoot in, but it had that quality we were looking for. Then she goes into these sort of altered states where she's creating music, and she takes on androgynous characters mostly, and plays with her gender, her sexuality, her music. It's kind of her you know, like her world of creation. And so we did some other effects here with Vaseline on lenses and certain types of lighting and certain reflective surfaces. When we pull out of the music, she goes on more dates with weird and wonderful men. And this is where color starts to come in a bit more. And I really like the sequence that we did here. Back in her apartment, she has this relationship with her best friend that kind of goes sour, salty, maybe is what I would use. So it has more intimacy perhaps in the framing. And the colors are more neutral, but we're kind of gradually working our way towards more saturation perhaps, and reflectivity. Used a lot of mirrors and natural devices that are actually not, you know, I probably had like a sky panel and some M18s, and that's kind of the world that we're working in. We did a lovely sequence with a projector. That was really fun. You know, you can actually light a whole scene with a projector. I didn't realize. You see, it's nice. Anyway, I think this one was before color correction. So we did take out, I think, a bit of green. So here she's starting to find her, you know, she's questioning a lot in her life, and this is the warmth coming in, and I quite love that. And then more dates. So the dates get even more kind of bizarre. I thought this was quite fun. We did a whole car rig where she escapes the car and sits on the top of the car and does this elaborate, you know, dress and rings, and it was really fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is the wider shot of this car sequence that we did. And I can't explain to you why this car is on an angle. It was Wendy and I and everybody just thought it would be interesting. So we went, much to the producer's annoyance. And here you start to see a bit more color coming in and saturation. And now we're, you know, amping things up. There's bar stuff. Again, the 4/3 is really, really enjoyable. You have a lot more headroom. You know,
we have a question on that, on the aspect ratio right now. So why would you choose a certain aspect ratio? And some directors like to reframe, crop in post. What are you taking on that?
I come back to a professor I learned from, who's wonderful, called Bill Dill, and he said there isn't, or I'm going to quote him probably badly, he said there's no rule on aspect ratio. You choosing your aspect for the story, just because it's the normal right now doesn't mean everything should be shot in the same aspect ratio. I think I pick for, I don't try to go to a natural aspect ratio. I have a conversation with the director. Well, what do you do?
Well, sorry, I was reading all the other questions.
Oh, okay.
There's many
right. That's so good. There's lots of them. All right. Well, why didn't I just, I'm going to keep going. I'll finish on the sugar daddy because we've only got, oh yeah, we're good on time. But to choose this aspect ratio, it came from the visuals that we looked at in prep and the portraiture, and we looked at lots of painters and artists, and we wanted her journey to be very singular and to be with her. So that's kind of informed the 4-3. And it wasn't necessarily an easy process because they wanted, for let's say deliverables, they wanted a 16:9 as well. So we shot both, which, you know, honestly I prefer just to shoot one, but we had to do the two. So things had to be out of the 16:9. But the good news is people loved it so much it stayed in 4:3.
Oh, good.
And so, yeah,
because it's always scary also. Yeah, when you're talking about aspect ratio, when you chose, let's say, to go CinemaScope and then it ends up like whoop, they're cropping the side to fit some purposes for the distribution. So it's always sad. It's the same thing for 4:3. If they crop the bottom and the top, it's kind of sad. For a nice framing like this one, for example, you cannot reframe this. This is framed for the ratio.
That's right.
You shot. Yeah.
I liked that we were locking ourselves into decisions together and not deciding on those things necessarily like philosophically after the fact.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to have all those talks before shooting and really like being involved in them. It's the same thing for colors, because if every department is going on a look, if it's all red, like for like the one I showed you for Le Mans, you cannot decide at the end. Okay, like some people say in color correction you can do anything, but that's not true. You will always feel something is wrong when you turn it to blue if it was supposed to be red, or when it's framed for 3 and it ends up 16:9, there's something wrong. And it's weird because about cropping in post, every time Vicky Lenoir, my good friend colorist, who I'm working with a lot for different projects since 2 years, would say you always notice when they did something with your framing. And it's true. Like I'm looking at an image and I'm like, what's happening? This is not the way I shot it. And she's like, how can you you see it? But you see there is something wrong. It's not shot for.
You feel it. Like I feel things that are off and I can't necessarily explain why, but I know that they're off.
Yes, exactly.
Like something has been changed or altered, like the headroom or the way where the eyes are or what the intention was. You know, because framing is such an yeah, let me talk a little about, this is a really interesting scene. I want to talk about this one. This is the wake up, the morning after sex wake up that some of us have experienced. And there's the prior scene is the romance, you know, where you have this feeling, and we lit it with a very sunset feel, or late evening. And I'm missing the scene in between, actually, which you'll see in the movie when it comes out. But then we go to, and this is a lot of certain types of lensing and intimacy. And then we go to the wake up in the morning. And we actually shot this whole sequence with just a 16mm and then 150 on her, like a 50mm on her. So you feel this isolation of her in this big space. You know, he's ignoring her. She's waking up. She's discovering that he is no longer the man he was the night before. And it's her. I tried as much to make this like her feeling of what that is visually, which is very much. And then this is the 50. Actually not the best screen grab. And, you know, this sequence took a lot of different people to come together. The furnishings and the way it's framed and the color and actually even I can go back to the film reference of this whole sequence. Oh wait, do I have the?
Someone is texting us that we still have 10 minutes to go. So.
Oh, okay.
So you know.
Rambling. Yeah. Okay. So I'll finish. And then we finished towards the end of the movie with more color, light. She takes her own apartment and, you know, rediscovers herself. And we end with a reconnection to her sister. She's making new music and more color is coming in and she's looking to these ulterior worlds. As you can see, which we did in like a black void type scenario, and she takes on different characters at the end. So it really is the culmination of her journey. We had multiple Darrens in this shot, so it's like her multiple versions of herself, but those were actual actresses. And then we sort of finish with
I like that. Wow.
This kind of world, which is maybe like we started here with her and we ended here.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
I discovered that yesterday, right?
Yeah, I really like this. Yeah.
Sorry.
I really like this when you feel the progression. You can see like, maybe I will show you the last act of Le Mans 2 to see from the start and till the end what happened to this character, and you're like, whoa, okay. And that's we can enhance this with our looks. That's the purpose of it, with the cinematography to really talk about it's storytelling also. Colors are storytelling, framing are storytelling. And you can enhance all this. This is a good example of it. I really like this shot. It's incredible. The lighting on that is beautiful.
There's some Vaseline on there too that made everything a bit glowy with the shoulder. You know, I had different filters with different layers of Vaseline, so some had more and some had less. So there was a way to, you know, take away from a face but add to a shoulder or so forth. The last thing I'll show you, because I want to just shout out to the crew, because they're amazing. And let me see if there's a way I can share this picture. Oh yeah, maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Can I lose that? Yeah. Oh, I'm not doing the best job. Okay, zoom out. But well, maybe this isn't the best way to do it because the pictures are small.
Yeah, we can see that.
But can you see my arrow there? Yeah, this is kind of the core team, the Laurie producers, and we have Wendy Morgan, director, and Angela who helped us with stunts. And I had Colin Akun doing a lot of Steadicam, a lot of movement, which you kind of see here. Oh no, that maybe wasn't the best. I tried to build some kind of like crew love thing and it didn't really. I could have done better. There we go.
But that's nice. Yeah, nice to when you have like a good feeling and everybody's working together, and it's nice. The teamwork is really.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my word in English, but anyway, it feels good when we're all going in the same direction, and it's getting even better and better. Yeah. So how do we end up this? Oh yeah, I was about to maybe quickly show maybe my last, because I won't have time to show other stuff, but maybe just from you said, whoops, I have a lot of. Oh, we need to maybe wrap this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're telling us we have to announce a few things. Or do you want to wait? We have 5 minutes. Do you want to share and then we do the finishing? Because there was something you wanted to show.
You can say you can do all the talking.
The mentions whilst you. Oh, this is great. We're tagging it. Okay. So our host next week. This is very exciting. We have Technicolor colorist Mark Cooper with DP Gavin Smith, and deluxe colorist Joanne Rourke with DP Jeremy Benning, and they will walk us through their tech setup for remote grading. Maybe they can send you all their gear so you can. There we go.
Okay.
And
I thought.
And also follow CSC. Well, I have one more thing to do, Claudine. Also follow CSC Live and CSC on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, fans and everybody else.
It's gonna be like a confused, and I'm just I'm gonna do it quickly just to finish on that thing. This is the last act I was asking myself about. Like when we did some tests, I wasn't sure how it will get along with all the other 3 acts. But now people can look at it on EC2.tv Extra and let me know what they think about how it is all blending together, those 4 looks. And if you're able to follow, if it was too much, you can give me your you get your opinion on. I would love to have opinions on that, and you know, it's part of the process also to, like I said at the beginning, to rethink what you've done before for the next project, and maybe redo things and do not repeat others. So you can go check this on my website, claudinesauvé.com, and on yours.
KristinFieldhouse.com. I have admission though. I have almost finished a new website, but it hasn't transferred yet. So it will take you to Sessler, which is my agency.
Ooh.
I should shout out to the Sessler team because they're like my second family. They help me find projects and people to connect with, and they take care of me. And I love all those guys over there. So thank you, Sessler.
Hi, Sessler. I would love to meet you.
There you go. Invitation, Sessler. Or who's there? I'm not sure.
So glad I did that with you, Kristin. I would love to work with you too one day. I'm sure we will do it.
Yeah, like maybe we'll get to alternate sometime, although we still won't be together, or kind of.
Yeah. And you have to come to Montreal to eat famous cheese and famous wine. You have to taste. I'm gonna promote some Quebec wine. Pinot Refait, you have to try.
You guys have the best food and the best wine, so I'm going to bring some pottery for you, and then maybe there'll be
Great. I'll have a tasting at home for you. Yes, of wine and cheese from Quebec. Yeah. This is a weird way, but it's part, like we said, of the creative and artistic process, talking about other stuff, talking about life. This is important to remember. It's for me, it's really important. Get to know, like we said, our directors, what they like, what they don't like, and after apply that to what we are sharing on set. It's important. And so when also during the weekends, when you can go meet them and it's not difficult, when you have to, we don't have enough time of prep, let's say, and we have to spend our weekend with them, it's fun. It could be fun too.
Yeah,
it's important.
Well, let's hope
but
we
sometimes
get back there
sometimes it's not.
I said let's hope we get back to the process at some point. Maybe a long wait, but we'll see.
I'm so lucky, like I said, that I've shot the bestsellers a few months ago, and now we will start grading in probably 2 weeks. So I'm so excited about it. It's kind of getting back to work, but in a nice environment with my good friend colorist Vicky Linois and Lina. Lina, she's in Toronto since a few months, and she will come back to Montreal for that. So yeah, I can't wait to see her and finish the final touch on that beautiful movie. It's I was lucky to get on that movie with Sir Michael Caine.